Obviously, really proud of our performance tonight, second half. I thought we were excellent on both sides of the ball, offensively as well as defensively. And we were able to maintain that throughout the entire 20 minutes. Youngstown is obviously a really, really good offensive team, really talented group of guys. And I thought that we, handled their push in the first half, and obviously were able to slow them down in the second while executing really well on the offensive side.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about the energy in the building, energy from your players, the bench? What can the building do for your team in general to push you guys forward?
I think there's always value in home court advantage. I thought our students came out, they made a lot of noise, they were engaged in the game. It was awesome to see that. We'd love them to continue to come back as often as they can, because I think it definitely helped push our guys to another level of effort and energy. And I think you saw it in some of the performance of guys, whether it was trying to contest a shot, dig out a rebound, some of those little things where maybe that crowd gives you just a little bit of added boost.
Coach, these past, I think, 4 games now, it's really probably arguably the best stretch since joining the new conference for your team and your program. So I guess, what does it mean to, what's different about this year's team as opposed to the past ones, and how important is it to the program that, going into the conference playoffs, you guys are not just hot, but beating up on the other top teams in the conference?
We have another game on Thursday. We got to be ready for IUPUI. We got a prep day tomorrow, a travel day tomorrow, and that's really all we talked about. And then after we play Thursday, then we'll figure out what's next. But we want to just try and string as many good rounds together, as many good possessions together as we possibly can, and see where that takes us. And we've talked all year long about just trying to execute our formula as much as humanly possible. And I thought we've done a good job here of late doing that, but we have to continue to do that as frequently as we can and as often as the game asks us to.
Andy, a lot of times people talk about defense generating offense, and in that run, do you think that was the case?
Yeah, it certainly was. We got a couple run-out layups, and then obviously Josh had those 2 threes in transition, which were massive. But I thought our activity on the defensive side was really good. We talked about in the first game that Youngstown was really able to get wherever they wanted, and I even thought in the beginning of the first half we gave up a couple straight line drives that you can't give to a good team. Like, they're just going to completely take advantage of those things all the time. And I thought our activity in the gap was so much better in that second half, and that allowed us to generate some deflections and contest some shots, and then it allowed us to run out and convert offensively. And when you can get a couple easy baskets like that, a lot of times that allows you to start to feel certainly more comfortable and more energized.
Can you speak on the bench's effort, especially in that second half when Khalil had to come out with those 4 fouls? Can you just speak on what they were able to do in this game to keep the pressure on?
I think obviously Mike is basically a 6th starter for us. So we trust in his ability to be able to continually play at a high level. I thought Chris Ford gave us maybe the best 15 minutes he's given us all year long, and that's aside from the dunk and just his activity on the defensive end. He had 2 rebounds, I think, in the game, but it felt like he was always around the ball, making positive plays. We still like how Trey's coming along, and we know TJ's always going to get out there and compete, right? And I think those guys got to continue to just be with us and continue to work, because when they're out there and competing and they're flying around and they're defending, I think it just allows us to play at such a better level.
Coach, you held them to 32 points in the paint. How did you feel about your team's interior defense and just your defense overall?
It's hard. They do a really good job of utilizing Green, utilizing Nelson, and I thought there was a couple stretches to start the game, and even when they kind of came back in the game where they were trying to get some post opportunities, and I thought we were pretty good in that regard. I thought what really helped us was again the activity, right? We had some bodies. We kind of walled some people up and made them shoot some tougher shots than they would have liked, right? And Mike Green had 3 charges in the game, just being willing to kind of push your chest there and make a tough shot. And I thought our guys did a nice job of that in the paint. Cohill's a hard guy to keep out of the paint. They had 10 fast break points at the half, only 6 in the second. I thought that was key, because again, those add up as paint points as well. So I think it was a combination of all those efforts that really allowed us to slow down their paint attack.
Coach, can you speak on the team's transition game, especially on fast breaks? I mean, you guys are like to go at a slower pace from time to time, but it seemed like you guys pushed the pace a lot. Was that in your game plan today, or was that just something that kind of happened when you guys were forcing those turnovers in that second half?
You know, I think sometimes it's you can only play as fast as you can think and organize, and so sometimes if we're not thinking or organizing well, then we want to make sure we are. But I thought, like, even against their pressure, or even when we had opportunities out on the break, I thought we did a good job of running the space and playing in space and making simple plays. You know, sometimes I feel like when we get break opportunities, we try and make them as complicated as humanly possible, and that is not always a good feeling as a coach. But I thought today we really kept it simple and we made good decisions at that pace. And when you see guys doing that, then you're more comfortable with them, you know, getting out and getting some of those opportunities.
Coach, you guys were down 4 at halftime. What did you tell the guys in the locker room to keep the energy up coming into the second half, and you guys dominated the second half?
I mean, they kept the energy up, and you know, I think that what we talked about was you know, trying to just play a little bit smarter. Felt like in the first half, the difference in the first half, you know, we gave up two baseline out of bounds layups that were off, you know, formula or scouting report errors. I thought that, you know, we missed some easy layup opportunities that we didn't take advantage of. You know, Steph missed one on one end, they made a 3 in transition on the other. So I thought there was some just lack of execution and some boneheaded type stuff that didn't allow us to have a better first half, and I thought we really cleaned that up in the second half.
Coach, can you speak on Stephon Walker's development throughout this game? He struggled a little bit in that first half of play, but really started to find his own in that second half, especially knocking down that 3 in that midway point of the second half. So can you just speak on how he kind of grew as that game went on for you guys, especially playing in, you know, arguably one of the first big games for him this season against the top team in the Horizon League?
Yeah, you're not gonna like my answer. I didn't think Steph was really as urgent as he needed to be tonight, and you know, in the first half, he had a couple layup opportunities that he didn't complete. You know, there were a couple of defensive breakdowns, and I was talking to him, you know, at the last 2 minutes of that game. He was kind of standing next to me, and I'm like, we need you to be more urgent, right? If you're going to be in these moments as we come down the stretch of the season, like we need you to be ready to go. And obviously Nelson and Green are 2 terrific players, 2 all-conference level players, but we have a lot of faith in Steph. You know, he's obviously earned the opportunity to be a starter as a freshman, which is, you know, not always the norm. And you know, he obviously makes a lot of contributions to our team, but we also need him to continue to raise his level because he's played a lot of minutes and he's going to be in a lot of big situations here coming down the stretch. And you know, and he understands that. Like, one of the things that's great about him is, you know, he's very self-aware. You know, he doesn't always want to hear it, but who does? But I think deep down he knows that, you know, he's got to do a little bit better, or maybe be a little more urgent at times to be able to really help his team. And he's a terrific teammate, and so he wants to do that. But sometimes, like all of us, we try to see what we can get away with, and against good guys, you can't really get away with much.
Coach Khalil Spear, 15 points along with 4 blocks. He is a graduate senior, so he will be leaving at the end of the year. Could you just mention what he's been to this program, to this year, to leadership?
Yeah, we still have some more games to go, so before we write his obituary, let's
Well, I
we have some more games to go. You know, I thought he played great tonight. I thought he really, you know, he was everywhere, it seemed like. And, you know, I'm going to go back and review some of those calls to see how he could do a better job of not fouling there. You know, and see how we can help him not maybe get in some of those situations. But, you know, even he came back in the game late and you know, made that tough turnaround at the end of the shot clock. And that's what we said in the huddle. Like, okay, you can't control what happened with the calls, but now there's 3:39 to go, and your team still needs you to be engaged. Like, we can't be worrying about, you know, what happened in the past. There's still possessions to be played, and I thought he did a great job of that. And I think that's one of the biggest things for Khalil as he's been here is his growth in getting to that next play, right? And, like, you're a good player, you work really hard, you know exactly what we're doing offensively and defensively. Like, when you stay committed and you stay engaged, it just makes the game easier for others. And you know, tonight he certainly did that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.